Welcome to Martin Monday's Intentional Intimacy, where love, life, and legacy meet in the moments that matter most. Every week, I will share sacred reflections of my 30-year marriage before Martin's passing, as well as our life now without him. May these reflections help us live with more weight, warmth, and wisdom. Martin was a letter carrier by profession, but a life carrier by purpose. So let's take a moment and let intentional intimacy speak. Hi, Paula here. Welcome to episode 44 of Martin Mondays. This is the blessings that I didn't quite realize. And so I'm welcoming you to the double four episode. And today is the start of, this is airing on the start of a new month. So this is June. And with June comes, conversations about fathers and fatherhood and legacy. And so I was thinking about that at the start of this month, and I sort of found myself smiling, quite honestly, at a memory involving my dad and Martin. And so for context, I was always a daddy's girl. My father, he loved me. He loved me very deeply, and he was not shy about showing it. My dad was very good at showing his affections, and he spoiled me. Now, I don't like to use the word spoiled because to me, anything spoiled is, not of any useful value. I like to use the word much loved. But, in general context, people will call it spoiled. So, all right, I'll give you that. But my dad, he doted on me in every way. He took care of me in so many different ways. And at the time, it just felt like that's the way things are supposed to be. Like I didn't know anything different growing up. I didn't think much about it because it was my normal, and it was all I had ever known. And so, I didn't know anything different. That was just simply my dad, and that's what he did. But then one day, Martin and I are about to get married. There was this conversation between my dad and Martin that kind of became a running joke in our family, where my dad, he kind of looked at Martin and he was like, in essence, he's like, I'm sorry. I know I created this. I did this, I'm like, what? Everybody laughed. We all laughed about it, because we knew what my dad meant. I had this little, I guess sense of entitlement or whatever. But we knew what that meant. And my dad had established a certain standard, and yeah, that's what we do. And he knew that he had raised me to be loved, to be protected, to be cared for and encouraged. And so he wanted to make sure that as he's passing the baton to Martin, that he understood what his responsibilities were. And so he says to Martin, I'm paraphrasing, but basically he says to Martin, I'll trust you that you'll continue with the lifestyle that she's used to. He said, in fact, I'm sure that, you'll even elevate it. And so it was really funny in the moment. But when I look back on that now, it was actually kind of profound in some way, because my father, he wasn't just like handing me off or anything like that. He was truly expressing confidence in the man that I had chosen to be my husband. My parents had great expectations for Martin. Y'all know the story. Like they knew him like his whole life kind of thing, And so my husband believed that he would take care of me, and he was committed, because the thing is that when someone consistently shows up for you, their love can kind of start to feel, just ordinary. Let's just be honest about it. We kind of get used to things. It becomes familiar. And so my father's care was kind of familiar to me. And so Martin's care as well kind of became familiar. I mean, I have one girlfriend that's always reminding me, girl, everybody don't have that. And I'm like, they don't? Like, I'm not trying to act like I'm, not familiar or jaded in some way, but I just was used to that. But I had to learn to appreciate it, because Martin's care was very strategic. The phone calls, all the check-ins, his thoughtfulness, the ways he carried his responsibilities without even being asked. It made room for me to just simply be. It made my life easier. And so at the time, I didn't know that I fully appreciated all of it, as I look back in retrospect, but not because I wasn't grateful for it, but because I had never really known anything different and I didn't have an expectation of any less. And so I didn't view it as super special because that's what you're supposed to do, right? I thought that's just what, fathers do, what husbands do. And, it was just the process. But I've come to learn that it really is one of life's greatest blessings that I had, because we stopped noticing those little blessings along the way because they've been there all along. And as I look back on it now, I can see those moments oh so differently now. I can see my father's devotion. I can see Martin's commitment, and I can see how both of them loved me in ways that have shaped my life and made me the woman that I am. What once, felt ordinary, it now feels extraordinary to be loved and to be cherished that way. Not because the love changed, because the love was constant. It's because my perspective has changed. And I'll reflect about that on the other side. Okay, so welcome to my reflection. There's something humbling about realizing that a blessing that's been sitting in your life all these years is like right in front of your eyes. It wasn't hidden. It wasn't absent. It was just familiar. And sometimes we really don't recognize the value of something because we never had to live without it. We assume that it'll always be there, right? We assume that's just who they are. I know I did that a lot about Martin. That's just who he is. That's just what he does, right? But the truth is, nobody has to do anything, quite honestly. Every act of kindness is a gift. Every sacrifice, that's a gift. And kind of when we begin to see those things as gifts instead of expectations, that's when gratitude has room and space to grow. And so as I enter this month reflecting on fathers, my father, my husband as father, I really find myself appreciating fatherhood completely differently. And I find myself appreciating Martin quite differently as well. Not because I love them more than I did before, but simply because I can see more clearly now. Yeah, I can see clearly now. The rain is gone. But sometimes gratitude isn't about receiving something new. Let's just be honest about it. Sometimes it's about finally recognizing what's been there all along. And that's where I am in this season of gratitude in my life. So this week, my invitation to you is to consider whether there's someone in your life. Maybe it is a father, but a friend, a relative, whomever, a coworker, somebody in your life whose love has become familiar. Their friendships become familiar. The relationship has become familiar. And we don't want that. And so, because it's been there for so long, right? You've been friends for so long. You've been married for so long. You've been whatever that you just it just becomes familiar. And so this week, I'm encouraging you to take a moment to honor it. Take a moment to notice it, to appreciate it, and recognize it for the blessing that it is. Give that person a phone call, write them a note, send them a text, do something. Just acknowledge it in some type of way because it's a gift and it's something special. And it's something that should be acknowledged and cherished because at the end of the day, some of our life's greatest blessings, they become invisible. Not because they're small, but because they've been with us for so long. So don't let the familiar choke out the joy, the excitement, and the beauty of the relationships that you have, because it's the blessing that you almost didn't notice. Thanks so much for joining me this week on Martin Mondays, and I'll see you next week. Have a good one. Martin Mondays continues on Tuesday with the Tuesday tea. Check it out and join me and take a sip. You know, Martin used to say a lot of things. Some were funny, some were wise, but one thing he often said was, wow. Wow. Just those 3 letters. It spoke volumes. It meant a lot when he didn't know what to say. Wow. When he was excited about something. Wow. When he was confused, perhaps, or even frustrated, he said, wow. And you know, he's still saying wow. Through this bracelet, he's still saying wow, because he's still saying, may your whole life prove that God is good. And so in closing, that's my hope for you this week. May you have wow moments as you too are living out legacy. Live in the wow. Live in the reality of knowing that your whole life is good. Live in the heartbeat of Martin Mondays and intentional intimacy. May that anchor you in this week as you build legacy, one wow, one moment at a time. See you next week.